So welcome to Abby Chatslot, where we invite someone from the creative space and find out a little bit more about their role in the creative business, the branding story, and that kind of thing. So this is Simon Brown, the founder of Joe Brown's. Can you tell us a little bit more of where you started Joe Brown's and your idea of where it came from?
Yeah. How long have we got, Abby? You might need to push the fast forward button a few times. I used to design and sell menswear.
Yeah.
And to all the big chain stores and high street stores and all that. And I just got fed up with it. And I was very disillusioned with everything, really. And we were on holiday in Wales, and been a very hot day. We'd been on the beach, went for a beer after, and there was a group of 20-somethings in the corner. And they just exuded all this happiness and freedom and not a care in the world. And they were wearing cut-off shorts and bikini tops and salty hair, bangles. And I looked at them and I thought, I want to feel like that. That's what I want to feel like. And then...
Did you not feel like that then?
No, I was really fed up at the time.
Right, okay.
I was selling a lot to Top Man, River Island, Jigsaw, people like that. And I was just getting my ass kicked around London because of late deliveries and this and that. I just stopped enjoying it. And the buyers I used to deal with had all moved on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and new buyers had come in. It had all changed. And I just didn't enjoy it. And I think we get one crack at this, so you better enjoy it, really.
Yeah.
So I thought if I could bottle up what they're exuding, these people, like the essence of it, and then transmit that somehow, that would be a good idea for a brand rather than other ideas for a brand. And so that's what I did. I left the business I was working with, which was tough because my brother and my father worked in that business, and set up Joe Brown's for a business that transmitted that feel-good factor that all these people were exuding.
And was they not behind you to start with, but then they came on board? Your family?
No, my twin brother Tony, he joined me about 4 years after I left. But when I set the business up, I had this idea that everybody was like me, because you think that, don't you? So the first catalogue and the first parts of the business sold fast motorbikes, which we imported. They sold parachuting days, bungee jumping days, whitewater rafting days. And men's clothing, just men's.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a great idea. And I loved doing it, but it didn't work out really. So the idea of the brand was born in Wales, wanting people to enjoy life. But how I enjoyed my life wasn't exactly how everybody else enjoyed theirs. So 2 years in, I ran out of money. And my wife said, I need to go and get a proper job. And she was right. She was right. She was one that encouraged me to set up the mail order company, web company in the first place. But she was right. I didn't need to get a job. So.
And do you think, and then that's when you kind of amended it a little bit at that point?
No, I went through another process then.
Right, okay.
A process that was very tough. So she said, you need to get a job.
Yeah.
So I went down to Leeds to a recruitment company who were advertising a job in St Albans. I had this interview with these two girls. It seemed to go pretty well. And they stepped out of the room and then 5 minutes later come back in and they said, we're not putting you forward for that job, Mr. Brown. I said, oh, right. And I presumed they'd have something a bit higher up the food chain or nearer Leeds or, a bit more senior than what I was applying for. I said, oh, you must have something a bit better for me. And they said, no, we've classified you as unemployable. So it was a difficult time. So I was skint. I'd given 2 years of my life with no earnings or anything to this business, and then I was told I was unemployable. So, very strange thing happened, shall I tell you? Very strange thing happened.
I want to know, was it called Joe Brown's then?
Oh,
it
outset.
was.
Yes,
yeah.
In fact, I should have bought one of the very first catalogues in. It's easy to see why it didn't work out.
But there was essence of this brand in there.
Well, the love of life and all that was definitely in there, yes.
Yeah.
So I went outside when I was told I was unemployable. I had a cigarette, had a coffee, had another cigarette, coffee, and this amazing feeling came over me. And I've only ever had it that one time, but it was slightly euphoric. And I thought, I'm probably as low as I can get now.
Yeah.
And everything from here is up. And I really think this business can work out. So I felt marvellous. Went home I could see my wife's little face when I went in the back door. She said, how do you get on? How do you get on, darling? And I said, I've got good news and bad news. And, you know, partners always want the bad news first, whereas I don't. I always want the good news first. Good news, bad news. Oh, what's the bad news? I said, bad news is that I've been classified as unemployable. And she looked at me, and I can remember her little face. God, she was so full of pity. And she said, well, what? No, it was awful. I felt so sorry for her. But it got worse. It got worse because she said, well, what's the good news? And I said, the good news is amazing, darling. The good news is fantastic. What is it? I said, it's going to work out. And that look of pity just got worse. Yeah. Like I'd lost my mind. So she said, what we're going to do? I said, don't ask me what we're going to do. I'm going to sort this out. But I know. And I knew. There was absolutely no doubt. I knew that we were onto something. From your lowest point, it was really weird. And so she said, we haven't any money. And I said, I know. So I said, I've got to go and find somebody with some money. So that's what I did.
Right, okay.
So I spent 6 months kissing a lot of frogs. When we talk about brand and things like that later on, I think you have to sort of live it, and you have to really believe it as well, because if you don't believe it, nobody else will. And I thought, this is just like the ultimate test, and I've got to get myself out of this pickle. So so I kissed a lot of frogs, and we found an investor. Very nice. You might have seen him, Howard Seton. He used to come in. Sadly, he's died now. But he did very well. He put 100 grand in. He walked off with, well, I won't say, but a lot.
Yeah.
So.
And how did you get him to come on board then? What did you actually have to say?
Well, I had to put a plan together. So
okay.
when you're sort of, I suppose it's entrepreneurial, or when you're your own boss, you'd have a level of confidence and belief that other people don't necessarily have, and you think everything will work out. I mean, I know loads of people like that. Still had this belief, and then I had to go and find an investor. That's right. I had to go and find an investor. So I put a business plan together. So I had no plan. That's it. I had no plan before because you just presume it's going to work out. But if you're going to get an investor, you have to have a proper business plan with all the figures, 3-year forecast. You have to have all the narrative and the ups and downs and sensitivity analysis and all that sort of stuff. So I had to put a plan together, but I was skint. But the luckiest thing happened. My granny died, and she left me. Not good for my granny, but she left me 3 grand. And that 3 grand I spent on a business plan. And it was at the time when the government would match the money. So I really got 6 grand because the government gave me 3 and I put my 3 in. And I had 2 business plans, depending on who I was talking to. Because I didn't really mind how we got the money. Or I had a plan for retail, and I had a plan for mail order and web. And and I talked to a lot of frogs. I met a lot, and I had some very funny times. Funny as in amusing for other people, but not for me. And then found this guy in Manchester who worked with somebody I'd had dealings with in the past, which had turned out well. So he advised him to invest with me, and he did. So that was that. And
how much money was that?
100 grand.
Right, okay.
Yeah. But I'd already put 125 grand, all my cash that I'd saved up. I'd already put that into the business.
Right, okay.
We had this plan. And he said, why are we doing motorbikes? You haven't sold that many. Why are we doing bungee jumping days? You haven't done that many. We need to be doing ladies' wear. He was quite a clever guy who was a marketeer. So we got some ladies' wear together. And the first year we lost 60 grand. The second year we lost 70 grand. And the first 6 months with him on board, we made 13 grand.
Really?
Yeah, so it was a turning point, really. And then after that, it went on and on from that. But we started doing ladies' wear, but the whole brand essence was exactly the same, really, except we weren't doing the adrenaline fuel things that I quite enjoyed. We were doing other things, but the joy of life and feeling liberated and all those marvellous feelings were still very much part of the brand.
That's coming through the clothes?
Yeah, it was. It was coming through the clothes and the way we presented things. Have you been to our store in Meadow Hall?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. So if you go into the changing rooms, or the door, if you go into the Meadow Hall store, the doors don't have trap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get changed, and they have names. So one of them is confident, one is liberated, one is remarkable, one is adventurous, and the other one is spontaneous, because you need a bit of spontaneity in your life. Yeah. So these are all qualities that we think are very important to having an interesting, exciting life.
Yeah.
So when you go into the change room with confidence on, there's a plaque on the wall and it says confidence, the most attractive thing you'll wear all day, which I quite like actually.
That is really good.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah. I went in quite a while ago when I worked for you, so I don't know if it was there then.
How long is it since you worked with us, Abby?
I think it's 6 years, is it?
Oh, God, that's gone quickly, hasn't it?
I think
Turned out
time
well for you, though,
does.
hasn't it?
Time does.
Turned out well.
Yeah. I'm like you, I think have to enjoy each day, like I've said on a different episode. I get that feeling from you, and I've taken a lot from you, like working on a Saturday morning.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's when you get ahead.
Yeah.
You work on a Saturday morning, yeah.
Because I just feel, I don't know, you're just kind of winning a little bit, aren't you?
Well, you deserve the victory. If you're putting in more than the others are putting in, you deserve to do a bit better than the others, I always think.
Yeah.
You deserve the victory, really. It's from a book called, maybe we'll talk about books. Do you read a lot?
No.
I've learned everything I've learned from books.
What's your favourite book?
Oh, God, so many.
If you could take one on a desert island.
Oh, well, these are all business books and selling books and books like that. But I'll give you my top three. Success is a Choice is very good, which is about deserving the victory. It's written by a guy called Rick Pitino. It's a basketball coach. And when it gets down, on basketball, they play right to the last second, and you can win it, popping one in the hoop in the last seconds, yeah. And that's about deserving the victory, and it's about work ethic. That's really good. Success is a Choice. Negotiate to Close by Gary Carras is pretty good.
What's the main one from that? The main takeaway from that?
That's the power of selling.
Right, okay.
And how you do it. So before I set up J Brown's, I worked, as I said, with my dad and my brother, and I was travelling the world. I came back from New Zealand when I was 21 and started working with my dad. Shall I tell you this story? It's totally relevant to branding.
It's fine because it's your journey, isn't it?
Is it? Okay. Okay. I thought it was branding. So I thought you wanted to ask me about branding. I bought all these little brand banners. No, I'll tell you. It's not a problem.
No, I don't want to know.
No, don't you? It's quite good. So I'm in New Zealand, and my dad has a clothing company, and he's making donkey jackets and duffel coats for the schools and for the miners and dockers and all that lot. Anyway, imports are really beginning to hit. This is 1980. So instead of having a Melton donkey jacket for the miners and the dockers and all that, they're getting these coats from China, very warm, much more functional. So his business was just going downhill. So I came back from New Zealand. He gave me a bag of donkey jackets and duffel coats and said, "Here you go sell these." And I couldn't really. So I decided to start selling fashion. But I didn't know the first thing about fashion, but it's all common sense, really. So I went into the stores. I think Top Man were up and running then. And Chelsea Man, which was now River Island.
Oh, I've never heard of Chelsea Man. No.
Chelsea Girl, have you heard of Chelsea Girl?
No.
Oh, well, Chelsea Girl and Chelsea Man were both River Island, and then they put it into River Island.
Oh, right, okay.
Same family owned it, that.
Yeah.
I used to buy samples from them, and then I used to copy them unashamedly and sell them to the markets, to Leeds, Sheffield, Wakefield. And so all the guys that were working on those markets, and sadly I don't think any of them will be with us, but if they are, I really owe them. So they were really sharp, these guys. Michael Moss, Brian Harrington, Louis and Dan Brown. And I would copy something, a pair of trousers, and go down with my copy and sell it to them cheap. But I knew I was getting done. I knew they were a lot sharper than me. And if I said a pair of trousers was £7.50, they want it for £5.50. And I was getting carved up all the way along the way. But
where was you making them then?
In Bramley and Pontefract.
Right, okay.
We were talking about Pontefract, Bramley and Pontefract. We had two factories.
Okay.
So I thought, I need to get with it because I'm getting legged up here. So I like the guys, though, but I knew I could learn a lot from them. So I got this book, Negotiate to Close, which is absolutely brilliant and talks about all the different selling techniques like power of scarcity, the power of silence. That's really good as power of silence.
Really? We won't be very good at it.
There you go. You just wait for the other person to crack. And then you can tell them it's £7.50 and they pay it because they can't bear the silence, or they always come back with something a bit better. So I had all these techniques, and I love this book so much. I bought it for a friend of mine who was in the wool trade, selling in the wool trade. I said, "You want to read chapter 3, 4 and 5? They're brilliant. I've just been testing them on the lads in the markets, and all of a sudden I'm getting a pound a garment more."
I need to read this. I'm going to write it down.
Negotiate to Close, Gary Carras.
Okay.
So I read these books and learnt a lot from them. I still read a lot. I've read branding books and all sorts.
And
Two
when's
very
good-
good ones.
Which ones?
One is called 4D Branding,
Okay.
which is by Thomas Gadd, and it talks about the 4 aspects of a brand that you really have to get working. And the other one is a business/branding book called Start With Why. It's by a guy called Simon Sinek, Sinek. Go on to TED Talks. He does a great TED Talk, which is why I bought his book.
Oh, right, okay.
Everything starts with why. Why do you do something? Why are you doing this podcast? What made you do it? Because people buy into why. They don't buy into how you do it. They don't buy into what you do. They buy into why you do it.
Yeah.
So we have a clothing company because we want people to feel good and liberated and confident and joyous.
I love that.
We want to spread the joy.
And I
we
think
do.
you do. When I speak to people that buy your, clothes, they always, speak highly of it. And I know that you've done forums with people, and it always comes on top, doesn't it?
Yeah, we do. We do a few chat groups.
Yeah.
So what they're called? Focus groups. they're
Focus
called.
groups, yeah.
And you stand behind a mirror, and they're all in a focus area here. It's like in a police station.
Right, okay.
When you see the detectives on the other side of the mirror, it's like that.
That's you.
So, and they tell you everything. They're not slow in coming back. So you're getting some customers that love you, some that haven't bought for a while, and then you get people that have never heard of you, and you give them catalogues, and you ask them loads. The guy or girl asking the question,
Yeah.
and you get a lot out of that. So that's customer market research.
How do you get your numbers of how well the brand is performing? How do you do that?
Oh, I think that's called NPS score.
Right, okay.
NPS score.
Because
I don't know what it stands for. NPS, bloody should do.
But it's
NPS
hard
score.
to kind of monitor, I always think, and that's why I'm so fascinated with brand, that how you kind of monitor and evaluate the value of the brand. Like if you look at your competitors that maybe sell, I know the other clothing, women and men's clothes. It's like the power of brand and how you kind of.
Well,
it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, the NPS score is not actually the power of a brand. It's more how well you're doing in the customer's eyes and how likely you are to recommend a business to somebody else. We do really well on that. Really well. The customers are really happy. You just got to find more of them. How do you value how well your brand is doing? That's difficult. I don't know. It's not an NPS thing. That's, as I said, that's different. I don't know. We generally, when we ask the customers, we ask them questions about the brand, and if they're not answering the way we think we're answering, we're not doing a very good job of actually growing it the way we want to grow it. But the power of brand is very strong. But we were talking earlier about you were saying who's got great brands, and you mentioned Apple. And Apple is a great example because it is so powerful, one of the most valuable companies in the world. It's so much more than just a brand. It is a brand, but it's the product. And when Steve Jobs left Apple, it went like this. And when Steve Jobs came back to Apple, it went like this. So that sort of illustrates how important the product is. So I've always thought product and brand is hand in hand.
Yeah, I do think it's hand in hand. But I think all these touch points and how you've got the logo and how you put so much into the catalogues, all these aspects are just rocketing it, aren't they?
Yeah, it was everything. It's everything. It's a tone of voice and it's a photography. They all have to work out. But I work with some really clever people.
Yeah.
Tracy, Rich used to work with these people. They're really good. And there's some new ones come in after your departure.
Oh, really?
They're not as good as you. Nobody's as good as you, Abby.
What did you say?
Nobody's as good as you, Abby.
What are some of the most valuable lessons that you've learned through like branding on your journey?
Again, it goes back to product and brand hand in hand. So we have some very strong partnerships with people like Next, Shop Direct Group, the M Brown Group, Freeman's, Grattan. We have some very strong partnerships, and part of that is because of the brand.
Yeah.
But the product does help the brand stand apart. So our product is a bit different by the very nature that we're a bit different, and the brand is a bit different. So when people used to ask me, "What's J Brown's about?" it was hard for me to describe. And I used to say it's a feeling. A lot of it is just a feeling. But the way that we can deal with these partnerships is partly because of the brand, because there isn't really anybody like us. There's many brands out there, but there isn't anybody really like us because it is very unique. And I think that's the power of the brand and the power of the product together. We do these brand Bibles, which we might come on to later.
Yeah,
and
you
they
said you might
reinforce.
read some of it out.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a few questions. Abby.
No, don't. Black.
What makes you a colourful person, Abby?
I just like black.
You're definitely better off that side of the microphone.
You know, when I worked at Joe Brown's, you kind of was very instrumental in, you'd always come and give feedback, amend a lot of stuff.
Yeah, irritating, wasn't it? It was irritating for you and frustrating for me, Abby.
Insipid.
Oh,
my
I don't like
God.
insipid. And no, you couldn't do anything insipid. Yeah, I did. Well, because I can see what I wanted and I could see what I wanted to create. It's really strange. I can't do any of that. All that genius stuff that you and the others do, I can't do it. And now I'm admitting it to you and millions of followers.
Oh, the millions.
I don't mind admitting it. I'm not ashamed of it. But I can't switch a computer on. I can't, when you used to do all these things, and you said, oh, that's marvellous, that's brilliant. I can't do it. So I used to come and see you, didn't I, with the pages. We might be designing pages for Freeman's or our own pages, or we'll come on to your best work ever, and we still use it, some of it. So...
Has no one done a logo like that since?
Not as good as yours. They haven't. Honestly, you did 3 of them. It was the boutique collection. Do you remember? Yeah. The boutique logos. We still use them. So, no, nobody's done anything as good as that. I used to come and see you and say, can you do this and can you do that? I remember one particular conversation we had, but I can't do it. So I explained to you what was in my head. I can't even draw it out. So I'd explain to you what was in my head and you'd do your best. I knew you were doing your best to cobble something together. You'd do your best, and I'd come on and say, I don't know, can we change this, that, and the other? And you'd change it, and it would be a bit better. And it was a laborious process that nobody was really happy with. And I remember one day I said to you, Abby, I don't know what's wrong. What is wrong? Why didn't you? And you said, well, I'm trying to think about what you want all the time.
Yeah.
And that's difficult for me because I'm obviously not explaining myself very well. So
obviously.
You said... obviously. Yeah. So I said to you, Abby, how about this? Because I knew you were talented because I'd seen some previous work, so I knew you could do it. And he said, I'm just trying to keep you happy all the time. So right, let's have 2 days where you just do what you think is right.
Yeah.
It comes out of your head. You know what we're about as a business, but don't think about keeping me happy, just do it. And that was the best stuff you ever did. And I still tell that story to people, the designers who design the clothing now and everything. I still tell them that story. Just do what you think.
Yeah,
sometimes.
And that was quite liberating. I think, time in a company like that was quite fast paced, wasn't it?
Our company.
Yeah.
Oh, we like fast.
Yeah. So
don't we?
For you to say, just take your time and give yourself
2
2
days.
days, I think was kind of really good.
Yeah. Bit risky. But it wasn't, because I knew you could do it. It was just you weren't seeing what I was seeing. But the thing is, if I used to come and say to you, can we look at this and this? And because we hate insipid, don't we?
Yeah.
And we used to talk about the pages in the catalogue. We used to say, create something where people will want to be.
Yeah.
So you just create fantasy stuff where people would want to be. So your interpretation of that and what I was wanting sometimes were different, but 9 times out of 10, what I had in my mind, you and the other designers and Rich would take it to here, and I'd just be blown away because it was even better what I was seeing. But you need somebody to start that spark, I suppose.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I remember you saying, if you was getting like a catalogue and they're all kind of white, aren't they?
Yeah, bland.
And then open your catalogue, your page, and then kind of jump out.
It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's still exactly the case.
Yeah.
So when the big people, when Next had big, thick books and Freeman's did and very, very used to be called Littlewoods, 1,000-page books. I wanted, when you're just thumbing through all that stuff, and Levi would be photographed on the same model as Wrangler, there wouldn't be any difference in the same resort with the same female model, male model. I wanted, when you got to our pages for it, you go, wow. And that's what we did create, and that's why it was so successful so quickly. And then it spread to Germany. So we hit the jackpot when Freeman's were owned by Otto, the biggest in the world. Do you remember we used to do loads of pages for Otto?
Yes.
And we used to do separate booklets for them. So these big companies were mailing out our actual catalogues to their customers, because their customers don't want to deal with us, they want to deal with them.
Right, okay.
But we had to create all that theatre, which was great fun, to be fair. And we did some great stuff. Well, we still do, to be fair.
Are you still with those?
Yeah, but they've all come out of paper. Little by little, they're going back into paper, but it became very...
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it became very fashionable to be just online only. So there was an expression they all used. Web first, catalogue first, I don't know. But anyway, they all decided that it was all to do with the web, and that printing catalogues and all the paper costs and everything was a waste of money. And now, little by little, they're just coming back. And I think that's a good thing, because we are a visually stimulating brand. Do you remember that, Abby? We want to visually stimulate our customers.
Right, okay. And I think you do
Well,
very
we
well.
did, and now we still do, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's what it's about. If you've got to visually stimulate them, because the clothes they're wearing are visually stimulating. And am I talking too much? Do you want to? I'm just about to talk about Remarkable. Do you want to ask another question?
I'm just keeping back to brand, but we are talking about brand anyway.
Yeah, well, it's similar.
It's all intermingled, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'll tell you how we came up with the stores in a minute. But if you ask me, we wanted a flagship. We wanted people to see what we're about physically. So if you go in the store, I mentioned about the changing rooms, but behind the till it says, when was the last time you did something for the first time? So part of our brand, we're back onto brand, Abby.
Yeah, that's good.
Seamlessly back onto brand. When we designed those stores, it was by a company called Deal and Pow. They're like the best in Europe. Reassuringly expensive, but very good. And they came to us and we went to see them and said, so what do you want, a contemporary store, an outdoorsy store, or what sort of store do you want? And I said, actually, it's none of those, really. It wants to be a store that has qualities, exudes qualities of people that I really like or get attracted to. So I want it to be an attractive store, like an attractive person, but what takes you back to the same person at a party. They asked me what it was, and I said they all begin with the letter I. So I wanted the stores to be intriguing, interesting, and inspiring. So, and that's what they are. That's what people say they are. That's what customers say they are. So we have this catalogue and we have the store. They're not totally reflective of each other, but the essence of the brand is abundant in the store and in the catalogue. And when you're queuing up, it says behind the till, when was the last time you did something for the first time? Have I just said that?
Yeah.
Have I?
But you're trying to...
Yeah, so we're trying to connect up here with the customer as well. And it seems to work. It seems to work. People love the stores. We've got a new one up in Bowness, a franchise.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, which is great.
Because I do see, my mum said that she was shopping in Doncaster and she saw your products in a different store, so you do that as well. Yeah.
Well, we do. So, we do. We supply the smaller independents,
right, okay.
Which is a nice little part to the business, really.
Yeah.
And it introduces people to the brand. So I was in Amsterdam with my wife and looking for ideas, because Amsterdam used to be such a good place to go just for loads of different ideas. And we're in a little shop called Knick Knack, selling upmarket ladies' wear. My wife photographed this ticket, and when we came out, so why did you photograph that ticket? It was really boring. And it was a brand called Timo, Ti-MO.
Yeah.
And she said, there's some really nice stuff. I want to see what else they've got online. So went back to the hotel and she bought something from Timo. And I thought, that's a marvellous way of introducing people to the brand. So we sell to, I think it's about 300 independents around the country.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And we do really well. And in fact, it was one of the people that was buying from us on a wholesale basis that decided to have a franchise, open the first franchise in Bowness.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So.
And do you think it's important to have that high street presence? Do you think that's important?
I do. It's I don't like cliches, but it's part of this multi-channel multi-channel retailing, isn't it? So you've got a catalogue, you've got a website, you've got independence, and then you have your own stores. Yeah, it gives people a good feeling for the brand, but you attract people in those stores that you wouldn't attract by sending them a catalogue, or you wouldn't attract them by just marketing online.
Yeah.
So it introduces people to the brand, and they're very loyal. That's what we find, because you can cut them all up and see who does what and who buys from what channel. So they are good. It's and I actually like retailing. You get an instant feel. You put a range of clothes into the stores and you get an instant feel. Mind you do, I suppose, when you send the catalogue out as well.
Yeah. And you started on Leeds Market, didn't you? I know we should have kind of covered that to start with, but...
Leeds Market. Yeah, well, I ended up on Leeds Market. Now, I started selling for my dad on Leeds Market. And then I ended up on Leeds Market. You know, when I ran out of money.
Yeah.
And,
Is that when that happened?
Amanda said, go and get a job. Yeah, we had about 25 grand of stock. I needed to turn it into money. There was no other way I could turn it into money, so I ended up on the market. Which is really ironic, because it was like 20 years since you started selling to those people, but then I had to get a little stand.
Yeah.
But, oh dear, I was a bit green. So I queue up early, 5:30 in the morning, keen as mustard to get a good stand.
By yourself? Was you by yourself?
Yeah, I was on my own, yeah. Sort of soul destroying now, because I had no money or anything, but I had to get this 25 grand turned into cash. So, yeah, keen as mustard, early in the morning. Get my stand set up. I get two, so this would be one stall, and then that would be another stall.
Oh, right.
I had something like 5,000 shirts to sell, so I thought, I need two. So anyway, 9 o'clock comes, and it's a bit quiet as the market. Not many people around, and it's not full of tables of stock and all this lot. It might have been half-right. Anyway, so I say, come on, everybody. 3 shirts for £12. 3 shirts for £12. Blue ones, pink ones, white ones. All sizes, and I'm going on like this. And then and this guy comes up, he says, have you got a licence for that? And I said, what? He said, have you got a licence for shouting?
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I said, no, I haven't. He said, well, you better get back there and get a licence for shouting. So I go back. The proper pros at 9 o'clock are just coming in. They know nobody's around early. So I queue up, and there's some in front of me, some behind me, and they'll say, I'm sorry, I'll be doing a bit of shouting this afternoon. Could I have a licence?
You're joking me.
I'm not joking.
I can't believe you got into that.
Completely. I just fell about laughing. But even the market was difficult. I was only taking like 500 quid a day. I was selling them at cost. It was costing me, I don't know, 70 quid for a double stand. Even that didn't pay. So... yeah, it was a difficult time, that.
You've
But
had
you
a
don't
right
quit,
roller
do you?
coaster. No, you shouldn't quit.
You
Do you
can't
think,
quit.
because a lot of people do quit, don't they? And do you think that you've just never quit?
Well, I didn't quit because there was nothing else I could do.
Yeah.
So, as I've explained, I can't work computers and things. So, I couldn't go back to my dad's.
Is Dave still there?
Dave Stannard. Hey,
The IT
mention on
guy.
air, Dave. Yeah, Dave Stannard. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's moved desks. He's not in his little place now.
He was really on the end, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's really on the end now, but it's just as you go through the main door. He's doing fine. Very happy that Leeds have got promoted.
Yeah.
Very happy. Yeah, he's doing fine. Shall I send you his regards?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I will remember that.
If, like, a business person is on a journey and... in hindsight, would you have changed any of the branding decisions? Because obviously you're in it, and then you've brought marketing people, brand people, design people along the way. If you look back, I know it's all part of a journey and you learn from that, but would you change any, in hindsight, would you look back and change anything, or?
I think what I'd have done, I spent 2 years trying to sell something and sell a brand that would never have been very big or very successful because it was so niche, fast motorbikes, imports. I was making about 7% on those, and I was hardly selling any. And then bungee jumping things and whitewater rafting, you make 15% on them. But no, if I'd really looked at it, if I'd had to write a business plan rather than just thinking this is a good idea, it'll turn out, I wouldn't have done that. No, I would have. If I had my time again, I'd have worked out that was never really going to work, rather than go through all my money and find out it wasn't going to work.
So do you think, because I think businesses look at their, like, the vision, the mission and the values. I'm not saying all businesses do, but they kind of maybe assess that and really look at that a bit further down the road. Do you think if you'd have done that, that might have cut that bit out?
Well, yeah, it would, but I left school with no qualifications at all. Got a one-way ticket to New York. This is a good story for later. Got a one-way ticket to New York, travelled the world for 18 months, working illegally wherever I ended up, and then came home. So I had no qualifications or no understanding of anything. I mean, when I was away, I built railways, I worked on an aircraft carrier, plastered houses. You know, I had no idea of anything. I just had bags of enthusiasm, and I was very curious about stuff as well. So that's how I learned. So that's why I started reading books. But yeah, would I have done that? Well, now, you know, many years later, yeah, probably. But at the time, I just did the best I could with what I had, which wasn't very much. So I would have, yeah, you can talk about all that. But I did have one. There were two things when I set the business up. So I don't know if you call it a vision or a vision statement, or what was the other stuff you said?
Like
Sounded
a
quite
mission.
good. Mission.
Yeah.
Oh, mission and all that, yeah. So you could call this a mission statement. You could call it... I had a vision. I could see what this business was going to look like. But if I had a mission statement, it's really simple, this. And it's not really a mission statement. It was
But the
what
best
I
ones
wanted.
are, aren't they?
Well, it's what I wanted. So I only do things from the heart, really, otherwise
Yeah.
I don't bother doing it. And it was make a few quid and have some fun. That's all I wanted to do, because I was so unhappy getting my ass kicked around London by all these retailers that I just wanted to make a few quid and have some fun. Have enough to take the family on holiday, have enough to buy a motorbike, you know, have enough to go for beers and, you know, just make a few quid and have some fun.
Yeah.
And we made a few quid and had a load of fun. So it turned out. But at times when we've been offered some really big deals, partnerships by people, I've looked at them and I've thought, are we going to make a few quid out of this? Maybe. Are we going to have some fun? Nah, not much. So I wouldn't do it. So I sort of stuck to that. And underneath that, there was a line, and it said, only work with people I like.
Yeah.
So that didn't mean just our employees, the people who were like the people I was working with in the business. It was about partnerships. So we'd buy a lot of stuff from India. And these Indians that we work with are great people. I love them. And so much so that my wife organised a Christmas away for me and the family and the kids all around India, because I love India and I like the Indian people. And so, yeah, I had this thing, I only work with people I like, because I've been working with people I didn't like, not in the factories, but my customers. And then it's the same with partnerships. We really only work with partners that we like, and that isn't arrogant. If you're working with somebody you don't like them, a partner, either a supplier or a partner here, or people within the business, it's never really going to work out. So, and we're stuck pretty rigidly to that. So, and it makes life more fun. So it goes back to make if you could have some fun. If you're working with people you like, have a load more fun. Well, look
And is
here,
it that
it's-
feeling you get from someone? Is it always that first initial feeling? If you don't like them, that's it. You don't want to. Yeah.
Sometimes I do prostitute myself.
Yeah.
And go against what I say, but it never works out. I say sometimes, it's happened once. I don't know how to say this without telling you who it is. It was a television company, and we did a deal with this television company. And when we came away, I went with my nephew, who runs the wholesale side of the business. You know them all in wholesale, don't you, Karen? And well, Ian left, but you know a lot of the others. We went into this meeting, and it just turned into a dick swinging meeting. Do you know what a
Really?
dick swinging meeting is?
Just like who's got the biggest one.
Yeah. And I came out and I said to
Women don't get that.
surprisingly,
No, but you don't. I've been in like company before, and I've kind of felt it a little bit, like you know what I drive, what you
it
drive.
was horrible.
But
It was so horrible. And we came out. This is before we actually did the first business with them. And I said to my nephew, I said, Will, was that just a dick swinging exercise? And he said, yeah. I said, how did I get involved in that? He said, I don't know. He just dragged you into it, because I'm not really a dick swinger. So So how do we get involved?
That's
Anyway,
the hook.
Sorry?
That's the hook.
I'm not really a dick swinger. Should say that on my business card, shouldn't it? So anyway, I said, how did I get involved in that? He said, God, he just drew you into it. But when you were swinging. So it was absolutely
What was it
awful.
about? Was it kind of the size of the businesses and that
Size
kind
of
of
the
thing?
business, these kids do this, my kids do this, I've got a grandson, he does, my grandson does this, I race a bloody Porsche. I had to quit at that stage because I used to race a go-kart. When I started playing rugby, I raced a car. I used to race a kart. I mean, it was pathetic.
Yeah.
You know, his cars he was racing were 200 grand a pop. This go-kart was 1,500 quid or something. But why? Why did I get involved? Anyway, who knows why? But we ended up doing business with him, and he ended up going bust on us. And I thought after that, I won't ever go down. I'll let Will go down and do the deals and do the selling with him, and I didn't go back. But after 2 or 3 months, and he was just full of nonsense, really. So I should have stuck to what I knew.
Your instinct.
If you don't like them, don't do business with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, your instinct, yeah.
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 So when they went bust, did that mean that you lost out?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. It wasn't massive, but we still lost. I think we still lost 50 grand. I mean, 50 grand's a big bloody prod in the eye, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Wasn't pleasant. But you live and learn, don't you?
You do.
So I've only broken the rule once probably, but it caught me out.
And I remember you saying that...
And it wasn't like we needed the business even. Didn't even need it. Anyway.
Who's the best partner that you work with?
Oh, well, that's a great question, Abby. That's a great question. Do you know, it would be very, very hard to say who was the best. And it'd be very hard to say who's the worst. They're all really good. And that's not, I'm not politically motivated or I'm not politically correct sort of person, but... Next is fantastic because that's just growing unbelievably.
Yeah.
The M. Brown Group is great. They take care of all the larger sizes that we do. That's just fantastic too. So they're great people as well. Very is good. Is very good. I mean, it's great. Nice people. Sometimes you get a change of people, and that's what happened when I was selling clothing to the chain stores, and you don't like them, but they just seem to bring in nice people all the time, decent people. Freeman's, they've got some people in Freeman's. Some have left one company and gone to Freeman's. They're great. And there's a girl there we've dealt with for a long time. It was fantastic, Bev. I couldn't say who the best was.
You couldn't.
Some make more money than the others, but we're not judging it on that, are we?
No.
We're judging it on who's your best customer or who do you feel most comfortable with. They're all good. They're all nice. And the little independents are a great little bunch.
And do you get round those?
No, there's too many of them.
Yeah.
Too many of them. But we have shows. We do some exhibitions in Harrogate and we do some in Birmingham. And we used to do the one in London, but it's not really much of a show anymore. So I used to go down there and meet them, and it's quite nice. They're nice people. But if we went to the Isle of Wight, and one of our small independents, well, not small, is on the Isle of Wight. You'd think it was a Joe Brown store because it just is all Joe Brown's. She's a fantastic lady. So they're all nice people.
So you have people kind of just selling your brand all around the country?
Yeah, the independent retailers, the smaller
which is
ones.
great.
Yeah, I think there's 300, between 250 and 300.
Yeah.
Some of them have 3 or 4 shops each. They don't just have one store.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, so when you started out, was you aware that you could do these partnerships? Or was that something that you...
That's a good question.
Because if you worked for your dad, did he do that? Because it's kind of a big part of your business, isn't it, these partnerships?
Well, shall I tell you how that came about?
Definitely.
Okay. I don't know if it talks about brand. It talks about the power of a
Just
brand,
keep
maybe.
saying the word brand.
I know, and then everybody will think it's a brand interview. Well, that came about, Abby. That's okay. I'll tell you quickly. We were growing the business. After Howard's money came in, I said it went from loss of 60, loss of 70, 13 grand profit, and then it went to 150 grand profit. And I knew we were onto something, but we needed more money to expand. So as you expand, you need more clothes. They need paying for before you sell the clothes. So you need more cash to pay for more clothes, to sell more clothes. It's called cash flow. Sorry, I'm not patronising it, but that's why we needed more money. So so I thought, how am I going to get more money? And I have this rule that I will never, ever, 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 ever borrow. So,
I remember that.
Do you remember that rule? So if you wanted a new Apple Mac and you fancy bloody Apple Mac, if you had one, they all had to have one. Well, I couldn't afford 10.
Yeah.
So we had to wait till we save up, and then everybody could have a new Apple Mac. Do you remember? I remember the joy when those Apple Macs arrived. So, and it's the same with absolutely anything in our business, the properties or anything. We just wait till we have enough money and then we buy it.
Yeah.
And there's a good reason behind that. And the reason behind that is, and this is part of our brand, is freedom. So we in our business are completely free. We don't deal with any of the banks at all. And if we want to, when you picked me up, you saw the new warehouse we just built. We didn't have to go to a bank or a building society to say, can you lend me some money for a warehouse? We'd saved it up and we'd build a new warehouse.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how it is. Wanting to expand the business and having this rule that we would never borrow, because you're not free. You're never free. If you've got a mortgage or a car on HP or something, somebody can call it back in.
Yeah.
But we can do whatever we want all the time, which is fantastic.
It's unusual, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was one of the things on the thing, never
Yeah.
borrow. I
Yeah.
didn't say that. There was another thing. Only what people like, never borrow.
Never borrow.
And so to make money, we had to sell more, but I couldn't afford to market the catalogue more or the website more. So I had to get more money to do that, and I couldn't grow the business by doing it because I didn't have the money. So we had to make it another way. And I looked at these big catalogues. It was Freeman's, actually, but I worked that out because Freeman's was owned by Otto, which I mentioned earlier. And if it worked in Freeman's, I thought Otto would come knocking, and they're the biggest in the world.
Right.
So I went to see a guy called Jim Skelsey, a lovely guy, who was a CEO. And it's very unusual that you could get, these days you couldn't get an appointment with the CEO of a business because they'd say send an email in and they'd just delete all the emails. So you'd never do it. But in the old days of telephone and all that, you could get appointments. And I rang him up, and his secretary answered the phone, and she said it was Simon Brown. I said, I got this business, Joe Brown's. And she said, what's it about? I said, well, that's what I need to explain to you. It's hard to explain, but I'll tell you what, it's full of joy, and it's just what you need. I'd like to come see Jim Skelsey. So she gave me an appointment. So I go and see Jim. I'd done, the spreads you used to make.
Yeah.
I got them done before we had our own creative department. I used to work with a freelance company. I know a company called Creative Juice, who were fantastic, two of them, two great guys. They designed these pages up, and I took a Freeman's catalogue up, Grattan Freeman's catalogue up, and I put 4 pages underneath in the middle of the catalogue. And I went through this catalogue with Jim. So look at this, Jim. And I bored him to tears deliberately. I think it was like chapter 5 in Negotiate to Close by Gary Carras, and the selling book I told you about. And I bored him to tears. And then I said, look here. I said, look at Lever, look at Wrangler, da. And then I said, look at this. And I opened our pages up, and they just jumped out of the book. I mean, they jumped out. It was like butterflies jumping out of the book. And then I talked him through it. I said, there's 2 things. I have to design the pages for you, and I'll give them on a disc when it was all discs. Do you remember discs? Floppy discs. Floppy discs. When it was on a disc. I'll give you a floppy disc, but you have to print that off. And the other thing is, you have to buy all the clothing from us as well. I will control it all, but that's what I want. He said, so what are you thinking? I said, well, 2 pages, just to prove a point. He said, I love what you've shown me, and it was a good presentation. It was very good. He said, I'll give you 4 pages. So we did 4 pages in this big, big book, and every brand you could imagine. And there were the 4 best pages. So, and that's just the truth. If anybody's listening to this podcast, and I hope there are millions, somebody will say he's telling the truth. There were the 4 best pages. So Otto saw it and said, what's this company, Joe Brown's? We've never heard of it before. He said, it's this lad Simon Brown. He lives around the corner. We'll get him to come to Hamburg to see us. So we went over there, and we just did so well out of that. That funded all our expansion for 2 or 3 years.
That is incredible.
Yeah,
So
we were getting orders. We were getting orders for 60,000 shirts, and that's massive in our game.
So you kind of sat down and just looked at how to get what you want, and then wrote it down and did a plan. It sounds how you.
We'll go deep if you want to go deep. No, what I do is I visualize stuff.
Yeah.
So and then I put my problem into my subconscious mind. Do you know about your subconscious mind?
I kind of know that if I've got an issue or a problem, when I think about it, go to sleep, and then usually I wake up, and it's kind of
The answer's that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I used to put in, we need cash to expand this business, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to a bank, and I'm not going to mortgage my house. So I need cash. How do I get cash to expand this business? And then over the course of a day or 2 days, So well, start selling to those guys with the big catalogues, and the ideas come to you. So your conscious mind and subconscious mind, the same proportions as an iceberg, 15% above.
Yeah.
That leaves 85 below, yeah?
I thought you said 50 above.
No, 15% above. That's what we're using now, our conscious mind. And 85% below. Some people say it's a 20-80 split, but anyway, whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's a small little bit that we have. This big subconscious bit churns away, solving out problems all the time. So in the evening, when you're asleep, that's when it really gets to work. So, what you're doing it, but not knowing that you're doing it, and the answers come to you. So I do it with business problems.
Yeah.
And that's how I worked it out. And it just said, well, there's all these big catalogues, and they were all selling average stuff compared to ours. Ours I thought was so much more exciting and lively. And so my mind just said, well, go and see one of them. And then I worked it out with my conscious mind. Well, I'll go to Grattan and Freeman's because Otto owns them.
So you've cracked one, and then they all fell into place.
Well, then a very lucky thing happened, if that wasn't lucky enough. And I don't really believe in luck. So the marketing director, a lovely guy called John Hinchcliffe, at Freeman's, left Freeman's and Grattan and went over to the M. Brown Group, which is Simply Be in Giacomo.
Yeah.
And he went over there and he rang me up and said, you know, your stuff sells well in our catalogue, FGH, and sells well in Otto. How do you fancy doing big sizes? I sort of expected it to do well because they weren't doing anything like our product and our brand and our sense of everything. They weren't doing anything like it, really. They're a big corporate business, you know. And I think that's why we've done well, because I don't think we'll ever be a big corporate business, to be honest, because all we want to do is make a few quid and have some fun. And and they're big corporate businesses, so we sort of fit in quite nicely with them. It's a bit of a different position for them. So, you know, the Barclay twins bought Littlewoods and GUS, two very big mail order businesses, one in Liverpool, one in Manchester. And when they put them together for one group, which was the Very Group, there was a lot of infighting and stuff. So we waited for the dust to settle 4 or 5 years, because there's no point in going in when there's all so much, it's so fraught. So we waited for the dust to settle a bit and then went in there. But we were, 2 or 3 years ago, third biggest brand in the whole of their business. So there was Superdry were number 1, Lipsy were number 2, and we were number 3. Which is pretty big, above Levi and Converse and all those people. So, yeah, and then the independents came along, and that's it really.
Mm. And what about the logo, like the visual elements, the logo? Where did you have input with that?
In the early days,
yeah.
Oh, like I was saying, I feel a bit uncomfortable. I can't do any of this. So I went to, before we ever had our own departments, we used to use this company, Creative Juice.
Oh, did they do that initial one?
Actually, no, it was a company called Stork Design, a girl called Sue, who did the very first catalogue, the very first one, and then we went with Creative Juice. And then we set up our own team because we're just churning out so much creative. So Sue, I can't remember her surname, lovely girl actually. I went to her and I said, I want it writing like this. I saw Pashley bikes, Pashley push bikes. Saw an advert in the Sunday Times. And I really loved the style of writing, but I wanted it to have a slight American feel. So I showed them something with Hard Rock Cafe, you know, the big circle around Hard Rock Cafe. Yeah. And I said, can you incorporate these two things? And they did straight away. And it was just great. So we went with that logo for many years. I think this new logo is only like 3 years old. And it was really funny. Everybody in the company wanted to change the logo.
Oh, really?
But nobody had the bottle to come and tell me. I think it was
Who was it that told you?
I think it was probably Darren, the FD, because if there was ever any really bad news, Darren used to get Darren to come and tell me, or Alison. So anyway, it was Darren or Alison. Somebody came, you know. They wanted to change the logo. When
they come in, do you know it's bad news?
Yeah, they shut the door. But he left the door open, so he comes in, he sits down. They want to change the logo, and he's out like a rabbit. It was like that, really. They decided that the logo, and they were right, by the way, that the logo wasn't really modern. It was a very old-fashioned logo. So Rich and the design team, the same team you used to work in, they came up with that, and it was the best by a country mile. And everybody tried really hard to bring in relevant things, but that just works so well. I love it. So when I saw that, I was really happy changing it, to be honest, because...
And what about the star? Where does that come from?
Well, the star was... I said about the sort of sun, the Hard Rock Cafe sun.
Oh, right, okay.
So that got ditched because it just wasn't right, and we put a star behind it because I'd been to Russia. That's a good story. I went to Moscow on the train from Manston.
Really?
Yeah, because I wanted to see what Russia was like, because we were doing a Russian theme, so I'd go home and say to Mandy, we need to go to Russia. She said, when? I said, a couple of weeks' time. So she said, oh, well, I'll book the air tickets. I said, no, I want to get the train, make an adventure of it, because it's part of the brand. So we went all the way to Moscow on the train.
How long did it take?
3 days, 2 nights, 3 days. It didn't really stop. Yeah, proper adventure. Anyway, but I'd seen this star in Red Square on top of a lovely green. I think it was green because it was copper or brass, whichever one goes green. And then there's this red star on here, and it was just so powerful, and I just really liked the look of it. So I took a few photos. Then when we wanted to change it, we changed it to that red star but it was much better than the orange circle, really. Mm. And then they took this and just put Joe Brown's like that. It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, and the starburst, that kind of was a big thing.
Oh, it
and
was.
then that's gone now.
Yeah, it does appear sometimes. Starburst. You used to do a lot of Starburst, didn't you? Because it's like theatre, isn't it? Ta-da!
Yeah.
It's a Starburst. Should we explain what it is?
They were there a lot.
Yeah, they were. Well, there was a lot of theatre, wasn't there? Because in the early days, you have to make do with what you've got, really. And we couldn't afford models at all. So do you remember, maybe before your time, everything was flat photography.
I remember this.
All the flat photography.
Because then you brought the photography in-house as well. Because that was outside, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was all external. Because you just get past the stage, you have to have your own stuff, really. Starburst, yeah, that was... I found still some Starbursts in the brand Bibles because it gives it theatre. And we had to give things theatre because we couldn't afford the models, so there was nothing photographed on any models. And then when we could afford a model, we had it for a day, and it was £1,000. And then next season we had to go to Fuerteventura somewhere. So it just got so scary, so expensive. But when we put garments on models, they sold so much more. I can't tell you how much more, but 4 or 5 times more, say.
Yeah.
So we just morphed into that, and then it worked. Mm. But the thing about a model is they can set the tone of how it looks, too young or too old or too slim. So,
and you was worried about that, wasn't you, initially?
You couldn't really define who we were and who it was for because there was no model dictating to anyone. So I quite liked the freedom that gave us. But once you see what the uplift is like on a model, you have to use models.
The men's aspect of the brand, is that kind of half and half, or...?
Well, men's ladies split is about 25 men, 75 ladies, which is about the difference in the size of the ranges as well.
Yeah.
But I love the ladies brand, but the men's is just slightly different. It's built on three pillars, and these are big pillars, and they're very important, and it's very easy to remember. Bikes, like 3 eyes, interesting, intriguing, inspiring.
Yeah.
But the men's is built on bikes, beats, and boards, so it's just 3 Bs. And the bikes are about, I tend to ride fast bikes, but the bikes are the sort of bikes that a group of men called distinguished gentlemen ride.
Yeah.
And so in order to be true to the brand, I bought a couple of bikes, and we took them to pieces, chopped them up, put different parts on them, different tyres, different everything. 2 Triumphs they were. And we did a video of going down to the workshop as they were doing this. And we designed these 2 bikes. They are absolute beauties. In fact, Rich is racing one at Race the Waves. So sponsoring
really?
Race the Waves. Everybody at Race the Waves in Brid is wearing a Joe Brown's Race the Waves t-shirt. Every competitor. So we designed these 2 bikes, and they won the Triumph Custom build prize that year, and I went down to the factory, and it's like I can't do anything, as you know, so I have pictures of all sorts of bikes from all over the world, and even down to the detail of the hand grips on one bike. I would want that certain hand grip on a bike.
Yeah.
I'd want the little bit of the hub, it's in the middle of the wheel that the spokes come out from. I'd want that a certain colour that would match the petrol tank. The bit of white piping around the seat would have to match the number 7 on the grille. So we designed these bikes. I love doing it, absolutely. I've spent hundreds of hours doing it, but it's just fun. It's just fun. So anyway, I built these bikes and they won this competition. So that is very much immersing yourself into the brand, because that idea came from people like Roland Sands, who's an American guy who does it. And there's a few, Deus Ex Machina, have you heard of them? They're a great brand. They're a surf and bike brand. And they convert bikes and things. So these guys who ride these bikes are real characters. They wear waistcoats like this, and on Distinguished Gentlemen ride, could be wearing Armani suits and goggles and things.
Yeah.
They're quite eccentric, really well dressed. But for us to hang that part of the men's on it, we needed to create these bikes. And so we've got bikes, then we've got Beats, which is music. We've always had a very strong influence in the music area, and the music tees do very well.
Yeah.
And then we have Boards, which is clothing for surfers in the summertime and snowboarders in the wintertime, so big fleeces. And so with those 3 categories, in my humble opinion, you've got most of menswear covered that I'd want to cover.
Yeah.
And it isn't, if the football, the terrace people on the football wouldn't be interested in much of this stuff, but that's okay, because we're not aiming for the football terrace people. Do you know what I mean? So we're aiming for these different genres of guys that they're the hobbies, you know. So, and that seems to have worked out really well. If we had a little phase a few months ago when we didn't have much of that feature, the bikes, Beats and Boards featured in the catalogue, and it dropped a bit. So they like to be associated. So you're building your brand by association,
Yeah.
which is always a good thing to do.
You need those visual elements throughout the catalogue to kind of bring it alive.
Yeah. So Rich is actually the guy. If you go on the website, there's Rich actually racing the waves on one of the bikes. It's a great bit. I'm commentating on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Being team owner. And he's racing this bike, and he is giving it everything. He's squirming around on the sand. He's doing great. So we're sponsoring. So we're participating, and Distinguished Gentlemen as well. We participate in that. So yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's fun.
What's next for Joe Brown's? Is there any developments in the horizon, or the top secret?
The top secret.
Oh, the top secret.
Well, you know I can't keep a secret. So it's a good question. What's next? Well, we're expanding the franchising.
Right, okay.
We launched Homewares. Actually, we're dead lucky. We launched Homewares when COVID just struck. So that was like just sheer luck. That's doing very well. So there's a big expansion program plan there. Menswear is so strong at the moment that we feel there's a lot of expansion there. And stores. We're looking at stores. We did pull out of one, which I sort of regret, because the timing wasn't quite right, and I regret it. But the store expansion as well. Mm. But I think as long as we're enjoying it, I never wanted to conquer the world. I just wanted to make a few quid and have some fun. So as long as we're making a few quid and having some fun, then it's great, isn't it? We're not really that big corporate company with all these grand things. Obviously, we work bloody hard and we take it pretty seriously. But I think it sort of grows organically, does our business. Yeah, we're putting a lot more emphasis on social, and you're going to ask me how many social people we've got. I tell you what, if you could look it up, we're quite big on Facebook, quite big on, what's the other one?
Instagram.
Insta. Yeah, Facebook,
TikTok.
Insta. TikTok, we do a bit. I should have the figures for you. Sorry, I don't.
I can put them.
Can
put
you?
them on.
But if you maybe just ring Tracy, she'll give you them.
Yeah.
And that's working quite well. We've got a really good guy on social. We've got a really good girl, Fee, as well. So they seem to have got to grips with that, because paper has got so expensive. we can't send out as many catalogues as we used to.
Oh,
You know, when you were
okay.
there, we used
Yeah.
to put inserts into magazines. So this is quite interesting. You know, for FHM, when you were around, we used to put inserts into FHM and the other one, Maxim. So FHM was 750,000 a month print run. Maxim was 650,000 a month. So we used to put inserts, smaller versions of the catalogue, because they're men's magazines, just the men's into those publications. We used to work a treat. It's one of the secrets how we grew the business. But FHM doesn't exist anymore, and Maxim doesn't exist
Right,
anymore.
okay.
And all those men's publications, Rich used to head up, was it Loaded or Front? Anyway, they don't exist, those sort of magazines anymore. So when that style of marketing has had to stop for us. And we do a lot of the Daily Mail, Sunday Mail on Sunday, but even that, because of the cost of the inserts now, it's just got prohibitive. It's just the paper costs have gone up so much.
Right, I'm going at something not about brand. I want to know about your book.
Okay, I'll tell you about my book. But I'm going to try not to get emotional, okay?
Right.
So my best friend died. No, sorry, you can laugh and carry. You don't have to look like you're going to cry. So my best friend died, and he was a guy that I used to go touring with on the bikes, and he was my crazy friend. I've got different friends. One's a funny friend, one's a reliable friend, one's a crazy friend. Different friends for different things. And my crazy friend died.
What friend do you think you are?
Loyal.
Ah.
Loyal friend. I'm not going to get emotional. So anyway, he died.
Yeah.
Came off his push bike and
His
died.
push bike?
Yeah, not even his motorbike. Yeah, and he died. And this was about 6 years ago. So it was before COVID and all that. And I was really, really, really bad about it. I missed him terribly. Anyway, I'd had a fantastic day at work. It was about 9-10 months after he died. And I'd had a fantastic day at work with some of the partner business was going great. Everything was just going great. And I'm in my office. You remember my office? The sun used to stream in through the windows. And I always used to be there till 10 to 7, quarter to 7. And I'm there, I don't know, it's before 7 o'clock. The sun's streaming in and I feel really sad. I don't know why I feel so sad. So I worked it out because I'd had such a good day, but I worked it out because I was still missing my friends so much. So I thought, I've got to get over this. You know, it's 9 months, 10 months now. You know, I've got to get over it. So I don't know if I can get over it. You know, I miss him, and we don't have the times we used to have. And we had some crazy times. Crazy. Well, you met him. He used to keep one of his bikes in our offices over winter. We had some crazy times. And I thought, right, well, okay, I've got a solution. I'm going to replace him. So this movie, this book, I've been working with a couple of writers. It's very good. I like what they've done. So I told them how I saw it, and they've taken it all. So I was going to replace them. So I decided to put an advert in the newspaper, wanted, and just describe this friend of mine, and see who turns up. And then out of all the people that turn up, I'll pick 2 or 3 of them and go on a journey with them.
I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could just write a little
Well,
thing
it's like
on
the Lonely
paper.
Hearts. You know the Lonely Hearts? No, you're too young. Well, I never did, but you used to put looking for love, and you describe the person, you describe who you were, have got speedboat, BMW, looking for girl with good sense of humour. Don't you remember the Lonely Hearts columns?
I do remember it, but is that still a thing now?
No, but it doesn't matter that.
No, but you did it, didn't you?
No, I haven't done it. This is part of the movie. So the movie starts because I had to do the eulogy.
Oh my God, I thought you actually did that because that is something you would do.
It is. No, it is. It is. So, no, it starts. The movie starts with me doing the eulogy because I had to do the eulogy. There's 300 people at this funeral. He was a very popular guy, and I had to do the eulogy, and his brother did one eulogy, and I was asked to do the other because I promised him I would. So we're away on the bikes in Spain, and we come across a terrible accident. 2 Germans, there was 5 Germans, 3 bikes, 5 Germans, 2 of them were dead. It was terrible. So anyway, we pulled over. There was nobody there, no ambulance, no helicopter, nothing. It just sort of happened. Anyway, we waited around. There was nothing we could do. Oh, they're all very upset and everything. And we carry on our way and we pull over for a coffee. And it just sort when you see that happen, it takes the wind out of your sails a bit. So he said, "Would you do the eulogy at my funeral?" So I said, "Yeah, I'll do it if you want." So he said, "Will he say this?" I said, "Yeah, I'll say that." "Will he say this? Will he say that?" And I said, "No, I'm not saying that." He said, "Will he say I was a good scrapper?" And I said, "No, I'm not saying you're a good scrapper at your bloody eulogy." So I said, "Why did you?"
Was he a good scrapper?
He was a trier. He was an enthusiastic scrapper. Was he good? I don't know. Anyway, so I said, "I'm not saying that at eulogy." I said, "Why don't you write eulogy? I'll just deliver it." So anyway, he never did because neither of us ever thought we were going to die. So when I did his eulogy, it was so painful, and 300 people there, and I had to keep stopping because I was really, really upset. And because I had all these flashbacks to this conversation we had when we were laughing our heads off about his bloody eulogy. So so it was terrible. I had all these flashbacks. You know, like you see in the movies, it was really happening. So the movie starts with me doing this eulogy, terribly painful. People were getting up out of the front rows to come and read the rest of the eulogy. And I said, I've got to do it. So anyway, I did it. And at the end, guess
did
what
you
happened?
say he was a good scrapper?
No.
Did you not?
I said he was very brave. That was something. He was very brave. He was very brave. I didn't say he's a good scrapper. So at the end, this is the truth. Clapping. You don't get that. You don't get much clapping in the end of eulogies, do you? Because I managed to get through it, I guess. Anyway, a great do at the end of it. A big do at the rugby club. And it was fantastic. So the movie starts with me doing this eulogy. And then it plays through a lot of
Have you
the
got that? Did anyone record that?
Yeah, they
Did they,
did. Yeah. So it's the only bit I play in the movie myself. So anyway, then and then it goes to some of the times we had together, and then it goes to the time when I'm really sad and having this idea to put the bit in the paper. Now the screenwriters have been writing it from there on about these people that apply. It's absolutely hilarious, some of it. And I pick two people at first, and I go on trips with them and I have a great time, and they write it. They've written that bit as well. And then, because of the 30 people that applied, there was only 2 I could possibly go on. And then I get a late one who was a girl. So I go on this bike trip with this girl, and there's a totally different dynamic. And she's the one that was most like him.
Oh, really?
So we go on this, we have this time, and it's a great time. And they haven't written it fully, but I've seen the outline. It's really good. And then at the end of it, it comes to me in my office again 2 years later. And I'm quite happy, and I'm reflecting on things, and I realise...
You're all right.
I realised that he gave me this gift, so I still enjoyed him after he was gone. Aww. So he gave me this gift of another 2 holidays. 3 holidays with 3 people.
And what was the best thing about him? Like what?
Oh, his laugh.
His laugh.
Oh, his laugh. I've still got it on my phone. His laugh. Well, when we go home, I'll show you the video where somebody put a whole video together of him, all the moments with him, and not just my moments. And that will play at the end of the movie. The writers want to play that at the end of the movie.
His laugh.
His laugh, but this whole thing about him, it's his life put together with clips from different people who've given them to one of his children. Did it actually? And they'll play this, and you'll really see what it was like. I'll show you it.
Oh.
It's great, and the music to it is fantastic. So,
do you think it? Because when you lose someone or you love someone and you're not in that situation anymore or the go, do you feel blessed that you've that you've been in that situation?
Of course you do. Yeah, you feel. You do. Yeah, you do. It was just special,
Yeah.
And but I might even. I'm still working quite hard at the moment, but I might even do that. Put the ad in the paper. I mean, how much fun?
I thought you did.
I did. No, it's what will happen. But the way it's written, the way they've written it, there's 2 of them. It's not about him at all. It's actually about me and how I've handled the whole thing of him going.
Yeah.
It's really good, and it's just about the love between 2 guys.
Oh. Life is.
But you met him, didn't you? You saw him.
I did see him. Yeah.
It was so fun.
What did he do? Well, have you been friends for a long time?
I met him in the squash club.
Right.
Yeah, a long time ago, but he was moaning and moaning about. I didn't know him, but he was just getting changed, and I was getting changed. We're
Yeah.
playing different people at the squash club, and he was moaning and moaning about this girl. And I said, "Well, why don't you just get rid?" And he said, "Who the fuck are you?" You know. So I can't listen to all this whining on. And then I went off to play squash, and he went off to play squash, and then he didn't talk to me at all. He thought I was a bit of a twit. Then I went for a beer, and he went for a beer in the same pub with the guy he was playing with, the guy I was playing with. He said, "So anyway, who are you?" So I told him, and I said, "I can't listen to that whining anymore, you know. Why don't you get rid?" So he said, "Well, why don't we have a game of squash?" So we had a game of squash, and after that, we just became friends.
Oh, really?
So I'm very friendly with his kids. He's got 3 great kids.
Yeah.
Who have all married 3 great people as well.
What were the initial conversations or exercises you had to define the brand? You know, your mission, vision, and values. Was there anything that you kind of referred to, or did you and your team look at your vision, your mission?
I think initially it all came along. Well, I just did things that I liked. So the brand was just about an adrenaline-fueled lifestyle. It was always a lifestyle brand, but as it grew, and once I realised that not many people wanted that, we then brought in ladies' wear, and then it evolved, and it all started really evolving one day when my wife was in the supermarket, and at least 2 ladies said to her, remarked on the dress she was wearing. It was one of our dresses. So the next day we had a board meeting. I was saying, "Oh, we've a couple of people. Amanda was in the supermarket. A couple of people have remarked on her dress." And Alison said, "Well, I was at parents' evening. Somebody remarked on my skirt. A couple of people." And Tracy, who doesn't like to be left out, said, "Well, I was in the cinema and I'm putting my coat on at the end of the movie, and this lady was looking me up and down, and she said, I just want to know what label's in your coat." So I said, "Well, this is people making remarks. It's quite remarkable. It's a true sense of remarkable." So this thing remarkable was born. So our brand, is a lot of it now, apart from having fun and joy and everything else, is about being remarkable. And we then had a big discussion, postponed the board meeting a couple of hours, and had a big discussion. So everything we do has to be remarkable. So if you ring the call centre and you're unhappy, well, I don't know, buttons fallen off, somebody's thrown the parcel over the wall. By the time you come off the telephone, you'll remark to your partner what a lovely experience you've had. And that's true. And I know, because we don't employ call centre people, we employ people who love chatting on the phone, and who can work a keyboard. But you've heard them all chatting away. They're a great bunch in the call centre. So it's a remarkable experience. And when people open the parcel, "Oh, I love the packaging," or when they're eyeing the shirt for the 20th time, "Oh, this shirt irons just like it's new." So remarkable sits at the top of our brand pyramid. And we want everybody who has anything to do with our company to find it remarkable. So if you ring up the call centre because you're unhappy about a delivery or a button's come off, whatever, I know that when you leave that conversation, you'll remark to your partner what a lovely person it was that you were chatting to. Because we don't employ call centre people, we employ people who like chatting on the phone, and who can work the systems. So when you're ironing the shirt for the 20th time, we want you to remark it still irons like new. When the packaging arrives, because the packaging's quite funky, we want you to remark on the packaging. So the whole thing with our business, it stems from being remarkable. Yeah.
So every kind of touch point, the social media, it all's stemming from this word, like remarkable.
Yeah.
Because I remember working at Joe Brown's, and you always referred to the pyramid, and the top was the remarkable.
Yeah. And from remarkable, you have personality, and then you have, and that is the brand personality. What is the brand personality? And then you have the how it makes the customers feel. So they feel liberated when they feel confident when they wear our products. Same thing that then stemmed onto the changing room doors we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And then the customer needs, what the customer needs out of our clothing. And that's very similar to their sort of, their wants.
And since you've kind of put these in place, would you say that that's easy then for everything to follow, like your vision, your mission, once you've got the pyramid in place?
Yeah.
Because you
can
always
just
refer back to it.
Is it part of this, or is it something that we've just added in? No, it is. It's much easier. It gives you a focus.
Yeah.
In fact, on my office where I sit, on the window I look out of down the office, the original brand pyramid is still on there. It's really, really faded now. But it is still, you can't see all the words on it because it's so faded. But yeah, it's still very important.
So we've talked before about touch points and with your brand, like the social media and the visual identity, as well as the kind of brochures. Is there anything else that you kind of send out about your brand or to kind of communicate to the...
We do. In fact, I brought some in. Yeah, brand Bibles.
Oh.
You've done a brand Bible or two, and we still do them.
I think this was a job that I'd actually struggled on.
Oh, was it?
Couldn't
was
get
it?
Right.
Couldn't you? So these are some of the brand Bibles. They're all online if you go on the About Us bit, and these just reinforce what the brand is about.
Every single one's online?
Yeah, they're all online.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So you go on About Us, and then you scroll down there, and you get to brand Bibles, and you click on there, and they're all there. But they just reinforce what we're about. So we had one about colourful life.
Yeah.
We had one about celebrate the difference in life. Shall I read you this?
Yeah.
Shall I? Celebrate the difference. Why is it, in a world full of choices, so many people conform? Being different and thinking differently are things to celebrate. Vivienne Westwood didn't conform. Neither did Barbara Hulanaki. That's the Bieber lady. They had their own style, their own way of doing things, and their own beliefs. They celebrated being different, pushed the boundaries, and gave freedom of expression back to the customer. Never be afraid of expressing yourself. Be different and make the difference. It's something to celebrate. So these just reinforce what we're about, because so many people have said, "What is Joe Brown's? What's it about?" And it's like a feeling and beliefs. Spontaneity. I quite like spontaneity.
These are incredible. And they're quite unusual, and that's another thing of your brand, isn't it?
Yeah. There's loads of different ones, but shall I read you spontaneity?
Yeah.
Because I think spontaneity is a very important part of life, as feeling liberated. To be a free spirit, you have to include a shot of spontaneity in your life. It's that great feeling of throwing caution to the wind and seeking out adventures and experiences that will stay with you forever. It's the excitement of not knowing where you'll end up, the satisfaction of feeling truly alive. These are the moments we share with family and friends. It's about breaking loose and being a true individual. Share your stories with us on Facebook. But all these is one about what's your therapy, because my therapy is my motorbikes. There's a little bit there about Zanzibar. So they're all different, but they all totally reinforce. Shall I just read you this last one? Because I know we're running out of time now, aren't we?
I was going to say, buy the ticket, take the ride.
That's one of my favourites.
Yeah.
One of my favourites. I didn't think that expression up. It was by Hunter S. Thompson, who was what's called a gonzo journalist. But I love that. Buy the ticket, take the ride.
I thought it was you.
No. It was somebody far better than me. Hunter S. Thompson. Buy the ticket, take the ride. Oh. It just says everything about life. It's how I, have liked to have lived my life. So there's a story here about heart and soul, and this is my daughter skydiving. But at the end it says, I love people with heart and soul. It's one of life's essential ingredients. So then I thought, I need to write about life's essential ingredients. So shall I read you about life's essential ingredients? You might have seen these before. Take 4 large tablespoons of love and understanding, because you need the understanding, don't you? And add to half a jug of humour. Gently stir in 1/4 of a pint of friendship and let it gently simmer. After only a few minutes, add 6 cubes of heart and soul and sprinkle in 3 tablespoons of adventure. Let it stand for 15 minutes and chill. Once chilled, give it a good shake and voila, it's this intoxicating mix that makes us happy. Enjoy, Joe. All ingredients available online at Joe Brown's. So these are just things that set us apart from other.
Definitely, and reinforces the brand, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and it helps the company sort of reinforce the brand as well. But we put these in parcels for new customers. They get one of these so they understand what we're about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love them, but they're all available. They're all different stories and from different times of our lives and things.
And I think that's important. Now we keep talking about touch points, but when you receive the parcel, from everything from the logo and how you communicate to that customer is just so important, isn't it? And you can tell that you've kind of achieved the remarkable on every single touch point.
Well, hopefully. You have to stay focused. And I think one of the things with our brand is we haven't wavered too much. You know, you get different influences. It's hard to evolve because the world and the society we live in has evolved so much. Along with evolving, you can't forget who you were or where you came from or what you really stand for. And I think some people get lost, or some people are chasing the money, you know, chasing the dollar, aren't they? But which we've never really done that. So, yeah, it just reinforces what we're about.
And, you know, like the last one I did, I kind of said, like, what is the end game? And I've heard when I've been talking to people that when you get so much money or so much success, then you get that and then you're not satisfied and you're wanting more. So what would you say your end goal is, or end game?
What's my end game? Oh, I don't know.
Do you know, like, you've achieved having so much wealth, and then is it true that you get there and then you want more, or do you know that kind of...
No, because I only wanted to make a few quid and have some fun.
Yeah.
That's all I ever wanted. And we have a lot of fun. I think I want to stay I want to stay happy, content. I wrote The Secrets of Happiness. Do you want to know the secrets of happiness? Because this is it.
I think you do a lot of writing, don't you?
Yeah, I do a lot of writing. Yeah, well, I do a lot of talking, don't I? You've hardly got a word in today. Sorry, Abby.
It's about you.
Is it? I would have been very happy if you'd
We know what, when you asked me the questions in the car. Oh my God.
Let me just see. Here we are, The Secrets of Happiness. So this took me hours. I like to think.
Yeah.
This took me hours to come up with. So these are the secrets for a happy life, secrets for happiness, only according to me, but after hundreds and hundreds of hours of research, because I enjoyed researching it so much, reading books, reading articles, all sorts, because we want our customers to be happy and we want to give them joy.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. That's our why do we do it? So secrets for a happy life, only according to me. First one is have a purpose.
Yeah.
So you can have lots of money, you can have all this stuff, but you got to have a purpose, something to get you up in the morning. It can be anything. It can be looking after elderly relatives. It can be charity work in South Africa. It can be trying to build a business. It can be trying to be world champion Formula One driver. It doesn't matter, but you've got to have a purpose of some description.
And in branding, that'd be the vision, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
it would. Second, this is very important, be grateful. So even in tough times, there's so much to be grateful for. So I'm just very grateful. So, but I always have been, even when it was tough. You know, when we ran out of money, still had a lovely wife, still had 2 fabulous kids, still had my friends, still had so much. It was just I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
But there was so much to be grateful for. Still had a roof over my head. You know, I was still me. You could still had a voice, and I could still see things. So be grateful. That's very important. The other thing, lastly, is never compare yourself to others.
Yeah.
Because there'll always be somebody better. So what's the end game for me? I've never really thought of an end game. I just want to keep enjoying it. I just want to, like it is now, travel lots. We travel an awful lot. So I just want to do that, have a nice time. Just come back from Egypt. Went down the Nile on a boat.
Was it amazing? Yeah,
it was fab. It was... there was only 17 of us on this boat, and we just hit the jackpot because there was 17 fantastic. There was Mandy and I, and then 15 others.
Yeah. And
there was just some fantastic people, a couple of families. We just had the best time. So that's what I want to keep doing, really. And
having fun.
We went for 10 days. A couple of days in Cairo, did all the stuff, you know, pyramids and Sphinx and all that.
What are the pyramids like?
Massive.
How do you think they did them?
Well, do you know, Abby? I've been there. I must have asked, I don't know how many people I asked. Nobody knows.
Oh, really?
Nobody knows how they did them. And there's all these theories, but there's so many geometrical things, the way it faces the sun and the way it does all this, that it's just beyond comprehension for somebody. I think it was 4,500 years ago. Unbelievable. Nobody knows.
Do you think it's like a miracle?
I think it could be. Honestly, I think it could be. It's unbelievable. So that was pretty good.
Yeah.
But the best bit was on this boat, just cruising down. I had a couple of sails. It was quite small, but with these people, they were just wonderful. So, and I love going scootering with Mandy. So we fly somewhere and hire a scooter.
Yeah.
Could be Italy, it could be Spain, it could be.
Do you drive?
Yeah, Mandy hops on the back. It could be Croatia. We've done Croatia, the islands in Croatia a couple of times. I love that. So just want to keep on doing stuff like that. And then I go away with my mates on motorbike trips. I want to do that still. So I want to enjoy working still, which is cool.
Yeah.
So don't really have an end game. If I died tomorrow, I'd be very happy. That's a good thing.
Yeah, that is a good thing.
Yeah.
A good life.
Yeah, just made a few quid and had a load of fun.
Yeah. Love that. And then just finish on two quick fire questions. What advice would you give to other founders who are just starting to think about their brand? So you've built up a successful brand. If someone was starting out their journey, what kind of little hints that's helped you along the way?
With regard to launching a brand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind
first of all, go on. Sorry.
just kind of the points that have helped you kind of on the branding journey.
I think the first thing, it has to be something you're really passionate about.
Yeah.
That really burns into you, because if it doesn't, you'll falter and waver and, it isn't what I wanted, so you go this way. And when you make a total mess of it, like I did at first, you have to change direction, but the essence was still there.
Yeah.
So you have to decide, first of all, it has to be something you feel very passionate about if you're going to set up a new brand. And then you have to look at how it fits and what your USP is, what your differences are to other places. Because if it's a wash, I mean, I suppose our business is a wash with brands, but if it's in a smaller sector, a wash with brands, how are you going to make a difference? So you've got to work out how you're going to make a difference. Otherwise, you'll just get ignored. So work out what you're passionate about and what it really is, and then work out how it makes a difference. And it's quite good fun thinking about all that stuff. And I didn't really think about that. I just got on and did it, and that's why the first 2 years were a bit disastrous. But once you start really focusing on it, it turns out it's fine.
Okay.
I think that's it really.
And then just the last question, what are some common branding mistakes you see early stage businesses make? So just if you was seeing one and you think that maybe they could just develop it or tweak it a little bit different.
Oh, do you know, Abby, I never. No, I never judge other people's or critique other people's at all. We've got all on just keeping ours on track and everything. So I never actually think, they've done a poor job with that, they could have done better with that.
Yeah.
Because you don't know the backstory and you don't know what stage of development they're in. So I don't critique other people's work at all, really, apart from yours. So
I can't believe you just said you don't.
No, when you look at other people's brands, I don't critique other brands and things because I don't necessarily know where they're going with it or where they want to end up.
Yeah.
No, I don't really. It doesn't really cross my mind, to be honest.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't help you with that one.
And then that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Oh,
Oh, it's been amazing.
Oh, I've loved it. I love the gin and tonic in the car on the way over, Abby. I mean, fantastic.
Je ne sais.
Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I wish I hadn't left it 7 years.
7 years is that was.
Well, it's since you left, isn't
And
it?
then twice in 2 days.
Twice in 2 days. That's bizarre, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, thank you. Thanks for asking me. Thanks for asking me.
I really appreciate it.
No trouble. Anytime.